Hello guys, and welcome to my latest and greatest series called HammerTime. In this series I will show you how you can make your own maps for source games. If you don't know what a source game is, it's basically a game that runs on the source engine. Games like Half-Life, Episode 1, Episode 2, Counter-Strike Source, Day of Defeat Source, Team Fortress 2, and so on. In this first episode I'm going to show you how you actually get the actual program, how you start it and how you actually get it going, and we will also build your very first level, like a really basic room. Okay, so first of all, to actually use the program, which is called Valve Hammer Editor, you need to buy any of the source games, because when you buy any of the source games you will receive the tools that you actually need. And if you want to make a map for, let's say, Team Fortress 2, you obviously need to have Team Fortress 2. If you want to make one for Counter-Strike Source, you need to buy Counter-Strike Source. So it's not a rocket science. Okay, so when you bought your source game, you need to install it, obviously. It will install anyway, because you obviously want to test your map. So what you do is that you actually get to you go here to this little arrow here. I have it on install, but you have all games recent and stuff like this, and down here you have something called tools. So if you click that, you will open this these are all tools that are available. Many of these are actually server software you can run. I have some. I have like Global Offensive SDK, Alien Swarm Dedicated. I don't know why I haven't used that. But yeah, what you're looking for is actually called Source SDK, and that is what you're going to use to actually make your maps. So we're going to start Source SDK, and as usual, Steam tends to live its own life when it comes to things. Sometimes it takes 1 second, sometimes it takes like 30. I don't know why. It's really awkward, to be honest. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. What the hell is going on? Alright then, Steam. I noticed that the Steam store is down. It's overloaded. Interesting. Come on. You may. Thank you. Okay, so when you start our Source SDK, what you get is this window. It says Source SDK. You have your applications here. Hammer Editor is the program we use to make our maps. You have a model viewer, which, self-explanatory really. You can view models. There are many settings you can change, and it's really cool. Face Poser helps you to pose and actually create like scenes, choreography and shit like that. And item tests is specifically for Team Fortress 2. I did show this in a different video, how you actually add your own items to Team Fortress 2 and post them to Workshop. You have some documentation here if you need them. Utilities, you can create your own mods this way. Refresh SDK content can be really useful, like the latest TF2 update. They released man versus machine, but you actually had to run this command right here to be able to actually get the example map to create your own man versus machine. You can reset your game configurator and edit them, and you have some links here. But what's interesting here is that you have something called engine version in current game, and what you do is that you pick one of these. Like if you go to 2006, well, I have nothing, but I'm pretty sure Half-Life would be here. Half-Life 2 even. Nothing on 2007 as well. They've actually been, I think they actually have like changed things lately. I don't know why, but okay. So multiplayer games, Source Engine MP is multiplayer. I only have TF2 and Counter-Strike Source. I do have Global Offensive, but it's a separate SDK. So okay, anyway, yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm gonna pick TF2. Yeah, okay, TF2 because I'm actually working on a map. So you just double click Hammer Editor and it will load. And this is what it looks like. And I know the feeling, you know, actually using a completely new program. I know exactly how it feels. It's overwhelming at the start, but I'm gonna try and help you out. So you always get this messages window. It will always have errors. You don't need to actually, well, you can just close this. I mean, the arrows usually means nothing. So, and before I actually open this, for TF2 I have custom content in the sense that I actually have like packages for Hammer Editor that improves things. I'm gonna show you, and also helps you with picking models and shit. But that's specific for TF2, and it's actually custom made. It's made by a Bodrum Snark, which is brilliant, or ABS, if you want to call them that. Okay, so this is it. You can't do much right now. All you can do is change like how you want your windows. I mean, you can save and load them. I never use that. What you need to do to start is actually go to File and then New, like this. And when you make a new map, this is what you will see. Okay, this is it, and you're like, what the hell? It says camera up here, which you can actually click. Okay, I can pick top, front, side, 3D settings. Okay, I usually only use 3D textured. You can use shaded. It's supposed to be shaded, but yeah, only you see basically everything gets darker. So it might be helpful because everything you do in Hammer is actually full bright. I mean, you can't get any good previews of light in Hammer. I tried lighting preview and didn't actually work that well. You have ray traced, which didn't work too well either, but you can try them out just to see how they work. If you do that now, however, you will get nothing because there's nothing here, basically. So sorry about the retard in the background. Apparently people think it's really cool. Yeah, he's awesome. Okay. So I'm used to shortcuts, like you know, in any program, like any program I use really. Now I'm going to show you the basic commands we have here. You have a normal selection tool, like where you can select, you know, source is a BSP engine. Basically, like everything you build with like blocks, like that's it. I mean, you build with yeah, blocks. And then you can put details in with models and shit. So we'll get to that. So you have a selection tool, you have a magnifying glass that I like never use, you have a camera, so you can actually place a new camera and use that, or you can actually move the camera and shit. We have the entity tool. When you click this, it will actually change something down here. See that? It's grayed out, and when you click this, you can actually pick here. You can pick categories like entities. You will probably only have entities and prefabs, probably prefabs HL2. Here's the custom things I got, and here's the latest custom things I'm going to show you later on. But when you pick entities, you will get a list of all the entities you can use. Like in source, you have two kinds of entities. You have, these are actually point entities, which means that you put them, it's like a point in a map. It's like, okay, this is an entity, you know, that's it. And then you have the other kind, which are brush entities, which is where you make a block and then you make that block to an entity. That's a brush entity. So yeah, the entity tool, I will show you more. We will use that when we make our map, and we will also use to create our blocks. Yeah, it's called block tool. I know, very creative. Block tool, we have toggle texture application. This is something you will use quite a lot. Basically, if you look over here, you have texture groups. I always use all textures. You have current textures. You can scroll here. You can click browse or replace. Browse, you get this window here, a new window called textures, and this window will show you all the textures that are available for you to use. And you can change settings here. You can click these things if you want to. Open source, reload might be useful. Replace, you can access this here as well. Mark as well. You can click only use textures, and yeah, it's actually sometimes it's useful. And you can change the size, like if you want the preview to be smaller or really fucking huge. Yeah. And you actually have filter and keywords. Now, keywords, like it uses, like in the information file for a texture, you can put keywords. Okay, so that's what it uses. But if let's say I want, okay, so I want a wall texture. Yeah, it's a wall texture. You go to filter, you type wall, and we'll filter out everything else. Like, okay, but I don't, this is not really what I'm looking for because there's so many walls. Okay, let's go to, okay, I want a concrete wall. I can't even type, that's fucking brilliant. Concrete wall. Okay, yeah, that's way better. Okay, so now we have concrete walls, but, okay, notice this. These are TF2 textures, okay, but you still have like Half-Life 2 textures and things like that, and you're not supposed to use them. So what you can do is like, okay, I want Team Fortress 2 textures only. You still keep the concrete wall, but you go to keywords and you type TF. Now you still have the concrete wall, but you're filtering out anything that is not made for Team Fortress 2. I mean, these textures in the information file have Team Fortress as a keyword, so you can actually only get those textures to show up. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fine, but okay, I want metal on this part. So I type metal. Okay, I still have TF there, so these are all the metal textures in TF2. So I mean, it's really, really simple and really easy to use. Yeah, so this is the texture browser. Or yeah, what do you get? The little window when you press browse, and it will save your settings as well, so don't panic. Yeah, there's something called replace. This is really useful at times, depends on what you're doing. Basically what it does, it's like it picks like the texture you last selected here, so it finds this texture, and you can replace every single face of a block with this texture applied to with like this texture. So we replace, like if you have, let's say if you have 100, if you used it 100 times, you pick this and click OK, it will actually tell you that, okay, I replaced 100 textures to this. And you have some settings here as well. You can use if you want to. Yeah, but if you open up the texture application again, this will disappear, as you can see, but you get a new window and you get a new mouse cursor. Now this is something you will use quite a lot. Basically this is what you use to align textures, scale textures, basically rotate textures, I mean anything. And this is usually what I use. It's like, go in here and you still have browse here, you have replace here, you have apply, you have shitloads of things, you even have displacements. I'm not gonna go into that in this video, and we will do that later on. It's a bit more advanced. So yeah, but this is what I use like all the time when I create maps, and basically everyone uses. Yeah, so that is the texture application tool. Then we have apply current texture, which is basically the same thing as we had here. like apply. I don't use that. We have decals, which are decals. That's pretty much it. But I never use decals anymore. You did use that all the time for the original Half-Life or Counter-Strike on the old engine. But for the Source engine, we have something better called overlay, which is basically the same thing, but allows you to like scale them and basically do things with like the decal or overlay that you're applying. Then we have the clipping tool. Now the clipping tool is some people like it, some people hate it, because yeah, I mean, for me, you know, I actually use it quite a lot. Basically, what the clipping tool does is allows you to cut a block in any way you any way you want, really. I'm gonna show you that as well. And then we have, well, vertex tool, which allows you to like move one point of a brush individually. Okay, so I'm gonna show you that as well. Sorry, squeaky share. My squeaky share is pro. Okay, up here now. Before I show you all of this, you're probably wondering, how the hell do you create a map with one window? Like, going here, pick that. Okay, yeah, okay, now I have to go, okay, wait, oh, yeah, no, okay, texture. Yeah. It's actually, it's maxed out. You can actually see the other parts here. I'm using the original layout, which basically gives you 4 windows. Okay, you have the preview here, you have top, side, front, and yeah, this is what you use. And to move around like I'm doing now, what I do is that actually, you can do this however you want, but I hold left click, press and hold space. Well, I do space first and then left click, and you can move around the camera like this. And then you use the normal WASD to move around like this. Just move the mouse. If you use the right mouse button, you will move like, I don't know, I don't like it. That's not for me anyway. It's pretty lame, to be honest, but you know, everyone has their preference. So okay, now before I show you the rest, I want to show you this. There are so many really good shortcuts in Hammer, and one of them is this. Okay, basically this allows me to switch to the big preview mode, check something out, and then, you know, go back to the 4 layout thing and change something. I use it all the time. Okay, so basically what you do is that you can do this with any window, by the way. Just click in it, but I always just for the preview part. What you do is that you actually click inside this, and I want to have this in big size, and you hold shift and press Z. Okay, you get a big preview of that selected window. And to go back, you press control, press and hold control and press A, and we go back to this. Okay, so shift Z and control A. I use it all the time. Okay, so let's see. Okay, first of all, the selection tool is really useful, well, at times anyway. You can select like in this window if you want to, but you can also like, okay, I want this part, you can just hold drag and like, okay, this part here, I want this to be selected. You press enter and it selects everything there. Everything. But let's see here, if we do, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna show you when we make the basic map. First of all, as you can see in these 3 windows here, there's a grid. Okay, and these are actually, I think these are, I think I have units, like inch, no, I think I have units going. I think it's the default one. Okay, so right now you can see that whenever I select something or I want to create a block or something, it will snap to these these lines here in the grid. And you can actually see down here it says snap on grid 64. And when I move it, you know, nothing happens because it's still 64, but you can actually see down here like 64 width, length, height. And if I move this, it's like, oh no, it's 128, and you can actually see it up here, and you know, it's, I never checked it down here because you can always see it in these windows here. But yeah, so okay, so when I want to make one block, okay, it's okay, but what if I don't want to make a whole block? What do I do then? Well, you can turn snapping on and off, and I use a shortcut. Of course I do. Keyboard shortcut. Okay, so what you do is that if you press shift, press and hold shift and W, it will change to snap off. So now when you create something or select something, it's not going to snap at all, and you can, you know, move freely around. And yeah, it's, I mean, you can do whatever you want now. And then hold shift W and it's back to snapping again. But what if I want to create something consistent, like, okay, but I want a block that's smaller than this? What do I do then? Well, there's a shortcut, but I'm gonna show you this instead. There's a bar up here with shitloads of things. You have 3D, never use, but here you go. This is what you need to use. You have a smaller grid, you have plus and minus. Minus is smaller and plus is larger. So if I zoom out like this, by the way, to move in these windows you do this exact same thing as in here. All you have to do is actually hold spacebar and then use the left mouse to move like this, and obviously zoom in and out is the mouse wheel. It's no rocket science. And I want to show you a trick. This, you can zoom the exact same amount at the same time. What you do is that you zoom like normal with the mouse wheel, with the mouse wheel, but you hold control and it will zoom all of them at once. And a tip is actually that when you zoom in, it's actually going to zoom like where your mouse is. So if I put it up here, it's going to zoom up here, then zoom out, and down here, and zoom out, and up here. It's really, really useful. Okay, but okay, let's do small grid once. Okay, now it's obviously smaller, but we can still make like a 64 here. Okay, that's 64, but oh look, I can actually do this now. Cool, 3264. Okay, but I want it to be even smaller. Okay, 1664, and even smaller, 8, and even smaller, 4, and yeah, this is maximum. You can go down is 1. But you can go the other way as well. You can go big, like really big. This is the biggest you can go actually. It's 512. That's quite a difference. And then you go back, it's like 256, 128, and you're like, why is it? Why those numbers? Well, when you create games in general and well, things like maps and shit, you always use something called the power of 2. That the number you actually use needs to be a power of 2. So you have actually 128 plus 128 is 256. Then you have 512 and 1024 and so on. I mean, it's standard by now, but I mean, at first people were like, probably like, what the hell is going on? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's how you change the grid. And there's obviously shortcuts as well. As you can see, you click left bracket or right bracket to change. Here's the window, load and save. If you want to do that, you have undo and redo. I mean, undo is the same thing as before. I mean, you just click Control Z, that's it. It will undo. You have something called carve. If you want a tip, never use carve. It carves pretty bad. It's pretty shit actually. You can group objects, ungroup objects. You can actually ignore as well. You can create new vis groups when we do that as well. Probably not now. Hide unselected objects. That's pretty actually. It's pretty useful. Quick hide, restore. You have a cut, copy, paste. You have something called cordon state. Cordon is basically, it's a really cool tool. Like if you, let's say like you've been creating a map that it's a really big map and you're like, okay, now I made this new area of the map and I don't actually want to compile the whole map because it takes like 5 minutes and I need to check this thing out. You can actually use cordon bounds. What you do is that you click this and it will give you a selection here. This is the cordon, cordon bounds really. What it is that, like, okay, let's say, okay, I want it here. No, wait, I want it here. Okay, that's good. Okay, I want this area. This is what I want to test on my map. You select this, and then you click this button here. Basically what it does is that it actually... Can I please get out of... Thank you. Okay. Basically what it does is that it tells the program that this area here in red, this is the only thing you're going to compile. Compile is basically when you make the map playable into a BSP file and you actually play it. Yeah. So this tells you that, okay, I don't want to try this. Don't compile anything else. I want to try this. It should take 10 seconds to compile instead of 5 minutes. So it's really useful actually. Radius culling you don't need to care about really. I mean, any of these things, they're not really useful. Texture lock, for me, texture lock is a must. Basically what it does, like if you make a brush and you apply a texture, like, okay, now it's exactly like I want it, and you're like, I should actually change the size or move it, or, you know, if you don't have texture lock, the texture will move like everywhere. I mean, it's going to change, okay, but if you lock it, it won't change the texture. You can move it wherever you want and it will be the same like just before you moved it. So you can actually turn locked scaling as well, and you can toggle things. And I mean, all these things right now it's not necessary at all. You have run map, which is how you compile, or you can, it's better to use